questionable DIY racks, a brand new affordable Rando frame in 2025, and a interesting Brompton G-line competitor. All that and more in this week's new hotness, where we're still on Instagram, so you don't have to be. And this episode is brought to you by Cycle Limited, an awesome place to buy certified pre-owned bikes, because as we know, in 2025, used is the new. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to look at is the Shorty cargo bike by Firth and Wilson. Simon Firth used to work with Belinky Cycle Works, and check it out. I mean, what you get here is pretty sweet for the price. Looks like they're blowing it out a bit. For $2,200, you can get a complete Shorty cargo bike. 20-inch wheel. This looks like it has a derailleur, so you could run a geared drivetrain, but this one in particular is running some sort of hub drivetrain. This looks pretty compelling. It's kind of like the US equivalent of the Petite Pourtour, but a little bit smaller. It looks like it has a boom arm construction here with these sliding panels that go on the boom. You guys know I'm a big fan of these small cargo bikes. They just make so much sense if you've got to like carry your dog, or if you've got a small bike operated business and you live in a city with not a whole lot of room. I think for the price, the $2,200 sale price here, if this is indeed for a complete, is a absolute steal. Much cheaper than importing something like the Petite Pourtour or getting one custom built. Pretty cool. So if you are looking for a mini cargo bike, then definitely check out the Firth and Wilson website. Next thing I want to share is this interesting Instagram account called Toxic Works. And I can't quite tell if they're a bike shop or if they make just weird components, but their Instagram is very interesting. They've got this really unique looking stem here. Not exactly sure what's going on. It looks like it's two plates welded to the cylinder, and it has a series of shims to possibly work with many size diameter handlebars. But pretty cool. It looks industrial slash futuristic at the same time. Amazingly, this isn't the weirdest thing on their Instagram. They've got more, my friends. So check this thing out. Not so much the Surly. We've all seen what Surleys look like, but the thing on the front of the Surly, it's this cargo rack platform that they design, and the way it works is that you actually bolt it onto the head tube and part of the down tube. So this creates a platform area for carrying stuff that doesn't move around. I've highlighted a couple of attempts at this on a production level, but this seems the most refined so far, insofar as these things can be refined. This is what it looks like, just kind of standalone, unpainted. You can see here that the clamps that go onto the head tube and the down tube are on some kind of swivel. So that would account for the different angles. And essentially it's like two plates that are held together. There are mounting holes, so you could attach some kind of platform rack or a basket. But anyways, it gives you the ability to have a front cargo carrying area that's not affected by steering, at least as much. So really fascinating. This is what it looks like in black. Yeah, profile view. I think this is kind of cool. I'd be so curious to see how this works. Granted, there's going to be certain limitations. The bike you're going to put it on has to have round tubing, probably of certain diameters. So it won't work on probably a bunch of like aluminum bikes. And also I'm curious like if this spacing here would work with smaller size frames where the angles of the head tube and down tube are a lot closer. But really fascinating product. And it's cool that it's a retrofit item, so you could retrofit an older bike to do this rather than having to buy a new bike with specific frame mounts to it. Hey guys, bikes are super expensive these days. That's why it makes more sense than ever to check out the used market on the site like today's sponsor, Cycle Limited. They sell certified pre-owned bikes, and they've actually got some affordable bangers in there. One of the ones that popped out for me is this Trek Checkpoint SL5. From 2020, size 54, so totally my size, and it's only 1,500 USD. This is a full carbon frame and fork. You've got a 2x that you can change to get lower gearing. One nice thing about buying it from Cycles Limited is that they take pics of the actual bike you're purchasing. They do a tune-up. You've got a 14-day window to return it if you've got some issues. Another bike that popped out to me was this Salsa War Road Carbon Ultegra 700 size 49. A little bit on the small side for me, but it might fit one of you guys. They're selling this for $2,300, which is what I believe the cost of the framework is. So that's not even like a rideable bike. This one comes in this really nice, sweet steel color with Ultegra components. Usually I'm a 105 person, but if you want to splash out, you can do it without breaking the bank. So usually I'd be a little bit sketched out about buying a used carbon bike, but with Cycle Limited, they bring in the bike, they look it over with their mechanics, and the model isn't like a Craigslist or a Facebook marketplace. You've got the backing of a larger company to make sure that you get the bike you want and that it's in good riding condition. If you want to get a new to you bike, because used is the new in 2025, then definitely check out the sponsor of today's video, Cycle Limited, and use the reference links below. All right, moving on to some Spain news. The brand Sombra has launched their brand new or reinvention of their Grus gravel bike. These are handmade in Spain by Pablo from B Block A. He's based in Madrid, and it looks pretty sweet. Everything you could ask for, all the modern touches. It's made with Reynolds 725. Everything's nice and externally routed, so very easy to service. I think some updates to this model are it's using the UDH hanger, so you can get replacements fairly easily. They also tweaked the geometry just a little bit. They shortened it from 435 to 430, so it's more that all-rounder kind of handling in the rear. So not road quick, but not as slouchy as like a really long chainstay touring bike. It's a good balance of quickness as well as giving you space for bigger tires, and also putting a rear rack and panniers and not getting heel strike. One thing I have come to appreciate with the many bikes I've tried is the mounting points. They're just simple external barrels. I think these work the best. I've tried the few bikes over the last few years, which has the frame mounting points in the tube itself. And if they're not perfectly plain, then sometimes they don't work well with certain racks. And the best way to get around that is just like having these barrel style mounts. It's flat mount. The frame set does use a carbon fork. It's got 3-pack mounts on the fork. And one interesting thing too is if you can zoom in here, the rake is adjustable, so you can increase or decrease the trail, make it more stable or more responsive as you please. It looks like a good, simple, solid gravel bike, which is shockingly hard to find in Spain, I will say. So super stoked that Pablo is making this. Him and his business partner, Manolo, I believe, are fabricating these in Madrid, and hopefully I'll get a chance to try one of these the next couple months. Okay, still in Spain news, I've been talking about this event for the last couple weeks because I'm super stoked on it. This group, the Rare Femmes, they host this bike adventure travel camp, and this year they did it in the small town of Gore, which is along the Badlands route. And it looks like they had a complete blast. I hope they do more of these throughout Spain, or here again, because this looks like an awesome location. I think one of the coolest things I saw is Gore has this historic bull ring. They actually have done a version of the running of the bulls as long, if not longer, than the famous one in Pamplona. Here you can see they've been doing all sorts of events and presentations in that historic bull ring. And I don't know if it gets any more Spanish than that, but pretty cool to see. You can see here they've got a pretty nice cooking setup, barbecue, and of course the festivities. So great job, Rare Femmes. Laura was kind of bummed to miss it this year, but hopefully she'll get a chance to do it next year. But if you're in Spain and are looking for a rad group of women that are, bike adventure oriented, then definitely check out the Rare Femmes. Okay, we're gonna enter the cave of bad ideas territory. Since I posted that Spicer rack hack, there have been a couple more of these popped up. So this is from the Instagram account Slow Biking or Slow Bike King, very clever. And here he does a DIY kind of front rack standoff. He gets some tubing, gets some rod, and yeah, it goes as well as you expected. But it's kind of cool to see the reality of the situation here. One of the toughest things was actually getting the plastic tubing onto the steel rod. Here you can see how much effort it takes to bend. And this is the final, almost the final product. He still has to curve in the bottom parts. And it looks kind of like a pain in the butt, to be honest. But if you want to see another attempt at a front rack standoff slash mount, then definitely check out Slow Biking. This one was sent to me, DIY €5 front rack by an account called Schoolyard Projects. Usually a focus on retro mountain bikes. Here's kind of like a Jack the Bike Rack budget version. Bending his own tube. It's got some kind of plaster wrap or it might just be electrical tape protecting the handlebars, and then a simple Velcro strap to keep things nice and tight. Again, this looks like rebar. You probably want to file those down or put some caps in there, but super functional. The count itself is pretty entertaining, all sorts of weird, fun, hacky stuff. So if you're into, bike hacks and retro mountain bikes, then definitely check out Schoolyard Projects. Okay, and another alt bike news. If you're in the Chicago area and are into bike touring, you should probably connect with the Outfront Door team. They recently just celebrated 9 years of leading all sorts of bike touring, bikepacking trips from the Chicago area. It says here, since they started 9 years ago, they've led over 125 different bike camping trips, totaling over 2,000 participants. They look like a super fun and chill group. Great way to get into bike touring. Again, if you're in that Chicago metro area and aren't familiar with them, you should definitely check them out. Tap into the scene there. The next one is a bit of an update. I had posted about this interesting adjustable crank a few weeks ago, and it looks like it's finally in production, or beyond just like a CAD drawing. And you can see how it works here. This is from R Theory CycleWorks. Pretty interesting. It looks a little bit on the chonky side, but you can see there is the preload adjustment cap. You can adjust the length from 145 to 175, and then you would tighten it down with those two bolts. So I'm curious if they envision this as a fit tool or something that you would actually ride in. It says here, we made the GX7 with 7075 aluminum and grade 5 titanium hardware. Design was put through its paces with FEA software that simulated loads far beyond what you will see on the trails. So it sounds as if they're saying that you could actually ride with this. Pretty cool. What do you guys think about this adjustable crank thing? This next one popped up on my gram. It's made in Japan, and what's compelling about it is that it looks like it's a good competitor towards the Brompton G line. So steel frame, but only 11.5 kilograms. And so I believe that's actually lighter than the Brompton G line. It uses standard Shimano parts, 18-inch wheels, up to 50mm tires. So this would give you the same width tire, but in a slightly smaller diameter, and 8 to 9 speeds. They're also made in Japan. This is what the bike looks like unfolded, and the design looks pretty nice. I'm curious if this uses the same front block mechanism as a Brompton. If so, that'd be kind of cool. But you can see here, that looks like this bottom part would swivel. There's a latch here similar to like a Dahone, so this would bring that down. Looks like the seat post slides through, similar to a Brompton, and some kind of twiddly thing here that undoes the bottom part of the fork. So the handlebar folds down in one direction, and the fork folds in this way, which is kind of interesting. Hopefully that's rigid enough when it's unfolded. So I've not test ridden this, so I can't say how it compares back to back with the Brompton, but it is interesting to see another option out there. The next one is a new bike called the Belmont. This is a collaboration between the bike brand Bossy Bikes and a bike shop in Philadelphia called Keystone. And the bike is called the Belmont. It's imagined as a rando, all-road, all-rounder, light touring bike, like the super practical bike. And it looks pretty sweet. It's designed to have clearance with a 650B by, I believe, 48 with fenders, or 700 by 45. It uses disc brakes, all steel construction, I believe 4130 chromoly. This is a GeoChart on the Keystone website. You can see here chainstay length is 430, so again, that great kind of all-rounder rear. I ran the numbers with the fork rake, and the trail figure came into like the 60s, low 60s. So it's that kind of neutral handling road bike feel. The bike is through axle, so 12 142 rear, 12 100 in the front, And probably the most shocking part about it is that it only costs $1,000, which for a frame set, steel frame set in 2025, is actually really good. Like I would totally pull the trigger on this if I was looking for this kind of bike and had access to it. One small thing that I like is that it's got the Franken lugs here, so you could still run Dan tube shifters if you want. I think this would be a great bike to build as like your, super easy to maintain, all-road bike. So I like it. It's super practical. It looks well thought out. But yeah, if you're in the market for a, just a good all-rounder commuter bike, maybe gravel, light tour, then definitely check out this new collab by Bossy Bikes and Keystone Bicycle Company. Next thing was this next thing on the gram that I saw, which was kind of fun, was this meetup. If you're a bird nerd and a bike nerd and a transit nerd, this is where all those three things converge. So apparently, BART put on a meetup where people were encouraged to take their bikes on the BART, go to a location and do some bird nerding. I'm gonna put the link to this. Hopefully they'll do another one, but a cool way to use different forms of transit to fulfill another hobby or experience. All right, heading over to YouTube. If you guys want to hear people talk about bikes in Spanish, this is a great tool to learn. The YouTube channel Easy Spanish, which I rely on quite a bit actually to help level up my Spanish. Their latest episode is they asked a bunch of people in Mexico City, is it good to cycle in the city? So it's cool to see how they frame their responses, all the different verbs that are used to talk about riding a bike. You have andar, you have ir, you have montar. So if you want to hear the plight of Mexico City cyclists in Spanish, see what it's like to ride there and also improve your language skills, then check out this video. And the last video which popped up on my feed, which I thought was actually pretty funny, is Factor's new bike an actual joke? So this is from a YouTube channel called Dobbs. So in this video, he goes on to talk about the new release by Factor Bikes, and full disclosure, I don't know a ton about Factor. It's just not my wheelhouse. But he does poke fun at kind of the tone deaf copy. So quoting the Factor site, not all racers are pros. Across the world, passionate competitors balance family, life, careers, life responsibilities while pushing themselves to their limits on the bike. They commute to work, train in the dark, race on weekends, and push for personal bests whenever they ride. The TLDR version of this video is that this is Factor's version of an everyday bike for normal non-pros. That comes in at just shy of 7,000 USD. I think the frame set is 3,000. And this is the bike that Factor frames as like a good bike for commuter, or if you're not racing, this is the bike you want. I don't know, me personally, I would lean towards the Belmont. Worth the watch. Dobbs does a great job kind of roasting the brand for their tone deafness, which I think is endemic of the industry at large and shows how kind of narrow their focus is. I think it's a hilarious attempt at a kind of industry endemic brand attempting to be approachable at 7,000 USD. But hey, I'm sure someone's commuting on it. That's it for this episode of the new hotness. Thanks again, Cycle Limited, for supporting this episode. And if you're in the market for a new used bike, check them out. Use the referral link below. And as always, keep the supple side down.